כל הצרפתי.
הקדוש, ערב טוב, מסכת יבמות דף ס"ז עמוד א', 67a1. We are by the Mishnah. The Mishnah says, Bat Yisrael shenitzah lekohen v'met v'nicha me'uberet. Imagine right now, Bat Yisrael gets married to a kohen, and he dies. Kaddish. What are we going to do? But she was pregnant. Lo yochlu avodea bitruma mipnei shechelko shel ha'ubar. So the slaves, her slaves of the Oziel, cannot come and eat teruma because of the chelek of the ubar, right? Because of the ubar, the fetus. Why? Because even if the ubar is Yoshea Baal, and even if the woman has other children from the Kohen, right? He comes and he says, this is something different. Okay, and he says, Avdet Tzonu Barzel, or that's what he says over here, Hinam Bishut Yoshea Baal. Okay, fine. 67a.
67?
Yes.
A. Usually
Okay.
we started the A page.
Shehubar posel ve'eno ma'achil. But it says here the ubar is posel other people from eating truma. For example, when you have a bat kohen that gets married to Yisrael and he dies, and now she's pregnant, because of the ubar, it's like she has a Jewish child that's not a kohen, and therefore she cannot eat truma. So the ubar is posel.
You pay $2.
Ve'eno ma'achil, but it does not give people to eat. Divrei Rabbi Yosef, these are the words of Rabbi Yosef. Yeah? Next, Amrulo, they came and they told them, Me'achar she'ata lanu al bat Yisrael lekohen, once you testified on a bat Yisrael to a kohen, af bat kohen lekohen, the same halacha will apply to a bat kohen, they get married to a kohen who met, minicha me'uberet, lo yochlu avadea bitruma, her slave should not eat truma, mipnei chelko shel ha'ubar, because of the chelek of the ubar. Fine, that was the Mishnah. Says the Gemara, Ibaya lehu. We have the following question, right? Ibaya lehu. They asked from them. Tamad Rabbi Yosef. What's the reasoning of Yosef? Mishum de kasav, because he holds ubar b'mei zara zarhu. Does he hold that the ubar, which is in the stomach of a zara here is a bat Yisrael, because she's a zara. She's a stranger to a kehuna. She's not a kohen herself. She's married to a kohen, but the kohen died. Now she has an ubar in her stomach. So do we consider that azar? And therefore, as long as it wasn't born, it's still nothing. Because it's going to become a kohen. Yeah, but until it's not born, it's nothing.
Maybe also it will not.
Yeah. Or dilmar maybe, yalud ma'achil. Only a child that's already born can give to eat truma. Sheno yalud eno ma'achil. But if it's not born, cannot give to eat truma. Lemay nafkamina. What's the nafkamina? Leubar b'mei kohenet. Right? To a bat kohen, and she gets married to a kohen. Daughter of a kohen gets married to a kohen. The kohen dies and she's pregnant. If the reasoning of Rabbi Yosef is because ubar b'mei zara is considered a zar, so therefore this ubar is not true because it's b'mei bat kohen also. So b'manashach, because of the kohen, he's a ben kohen. Because of the mother, she's also a bat kohen. So everything's a kohen. So in this case, why wouldn't he eat? Now, if Rabbi Yosef is talking about because it's yalud, so then it's a different halakha. A child, in order to give, to eat, they have to be born. Okay, it's a very special learning. So Amar Rabba says, Hainu Tamad Rabbi Yosef, the reasoning of Rabbi Yosef, the Kasava Rube Bime Zara Zarhu. According to Shitat Rabbi Yosef, ubar in the stomach of a zara is considered a zar. But Rabbi Yosef Amar, no, that's not the reasoning of Rabbi Yosef. So there's a machloket. What is the reasoning of Rabbi Yosef? Is it because ubar b'mei zara zarhu is considered a zar, or is it because only yalud ma'achil ben yalud eno ma'achil? Only somebody that's born can give to eat truma. Somebody that's not born can only give to eat truma. Again, machloket between Rav Yosef and machloket between Rabba and Rav Yosef, right? Between the two different ones. Says the Gemara. Yeah. Let's start. Yeah. Says the Gemara, again one more time. There's a machloket between Rabba and Rav Yosef. Rabba and Rav Yosef comes and he says that there's a machloket. What is the shita of Rabbi Yosef? So according to the shita of Rabba, Rabbi Yosef is the zar ubar b'mei zara zaru, which means that an ubar in the stomach of a zara is zaru. And Rav Yosef says yalud ma'achil v'she'en yalud eno ma'achil. And we said what was the nafkamina of ubar b'mei kohenet. Okay, fine. Says the Gemara, Meitve, we're going to ask the following question. Amrulo le Rabbi Yosef, they went and they told to Rabbi Yosef, Me'achar she'atta lanu al bat Yisrael lekohen. Now that you came and you testified about a bat Yisrael that gets married to a kohen, bat kohen, right? Lekohen mahu. So you just testified about a bat Yisrael that gets married to a kohen. That if he dies and he leaves her pregnant, so the ubar, the fetus, cannot permit the slaves in order to come and to eat the truma. However, though, what about a bat kohen lekohen? She's a bat kohen, she gets married to a kohen. What's the halacha? So Elmaleh, he told them, Zu shamati, vezo lo shamati. I only heard about a bat Yisrael, right? That basically the fetus is not going to come and permit for truma. I didn't hear anything about bat kohen. I didn't hear. They came and they told them, no, what's the halacha? I didn't hear. I don't know. They didn't hear it. Okay, perfect. No problem. So says the Gemara, I understand it's good. Ubar bime zara zarhu. That an ubar in the stomach of a zara is considered a zar. Hainu dekama lehu. Because that's what we said. Zu shamati, vezu lo shamati. This I heard it, and this I didn't hear it. But if you're going to tell me yalud ma'achil v'shenu yaludenu ma'achil, that only if he's already born, then he could give to eat. But if he's not born, he's not going to be able to give eat. Yeah, so he comes and he says, so my shamati v'zulo shamati, he might. What are you talking about? What does it mean then? Zo shamati v'zulo shamati. It's the exact same case. Meaning, if you're going to tell me right now that the entire nafkamina was, remember, let's go back one more time. We said that there was a machloket. What's the reason that Rabbi Yosef? The machloket is it that only when a child is born, yalud ma'achil, lo yalud lo ma'achil, doesn't matter who's the stomach of, meaning I don't care what the mother is. It only is, he's born, he gives to eat. Not born, I don't care about the mother, Kohen, Yisraelit, Kohenet, doesn't matter. Okay, fine. Or do you say, it all depends. Nothing to do with yalud or not yalud. Ubar bimezara, saru. If it's an ubar, a fetus in the stomach, so therefore, ubar yachol le'achil, aval davka matai. If it's going to be not b'mezara, if it's going to be b'mekohenet, so that was enough kamina. So he comes and he says the fact that he said zu shamati, so therefore obviously it means that it has to be talking about the kohanim shenam yuludim, and therefore obviously it does not have the power to give to eat truma. Bekasha, it's a good question. Okay, next. Amar Rav Yudah Mashmuel says Rav Yudah the name of Shemuel. Zo divrei Rabbi Yosef. These are the words of Rabbi Yosef. Okay, that basically the bat Yisrael that gets married to a Kohen and then he dies and she's pregnant. The Davdet Tzon Barzel cannot eat truma. Aval Chachamim omrim b'Chachamim say yesh lo banim, if he has already other children, ochlim mishum banim. These slaves will eat because of the other children. Meaning he already has children. So if he has children, they're going to eat. Yeah, fine. En lo banim. If he doesn't have any children, ochlim mishum achim. So then they're going to eat. Right, because of achim. What are achim? Because of the brothers. Well, they're the slaves of the father. The father died, so now they become the slaves of the children. En lo achim. What happens now if the ubar does not have any achim? So then it's because of the entire family, which means somebody that's a family member because of the kohen. So it's the entire family of kiuna. So they are the ones that are going to inherit, and therefore all the kohanim. It's all one family. It's one big family. Okay. Zo velo svirale. So says the Gemara, but when it says these are the words of Rabbi Yosef, it's mashma that we don't hold like that. Because sometimes I come and I ask you, that's halacha? Say, no, that's the shita of this. So one second, when you say that's, I asked you what's halacha. Now you came and you tell me, that's the shita of that. What's the mashma? It's not halacha like that. So he says, Elmaleh Shemuel Rav Chana Bagata. Says Shemuel to Rav Chana Bagata, Puk. What was Puk? Very good. Go out. Go out. We just puku. Very good. We just said it. Puk, go out. Aiti lebe asara, go bring me a minyan of 10 people. The malach banpaihu, that I'm going to say it in front of those 10 people. Hamzekelu ubar kana. If you're going to be makneh something, something to an ubar, what happens is that he's going to acquire it. And that is the shita. So because of that, that's what he's coming and saying. If you're making a kinyan to an ubar, so therefore that's what he's coming and trying to teach you, that the kinyan, right, is going. Now, why do you need 10 people? You needed 10 people because pirsuma davar. What does it mean Pirsum? Like Pirsum and Nisa. What is Pirsum and Nisa? Yeah, that's what he's trying to do. He's trying to be posek halacha in front of everybody. What happens is, if you want a lot of people to know, what do? You get 10 people there, and you come and you start talking. Oh, all of a sudden you say it in front of 10 people.
Yeah, so this halacha will catch.
Ooh, and it catches on, right? Everyone starts talking about it. So the same thing. So then he said, go out and teach it. Why? If you're going to be mizakeh something to an ubar, is kana. So for example, barahaki, you come and there's a woman that she's pregnant, and you say, you know what? I want that this beer goes to the child. It belongs to this child, the fetus. If you're going to be mizakeh to the ubar, it belongs to the ubar. It belongs to the fetus. Okay, that's what it says. So ela zo usirle. So then 1 second. So that means zo means that he actually holds like that. So my question, what does it come and teach you? The pligi ale rabbanan, the pligi rabbanan, Rabbi Yosef, the rabbanan argue on Rabbi Yosef. So says the Gemara, omi pligi, do they actually argue? Mati Rabbi Zakai comes and he asks the following question. Yeah, Rabbi Zakai is the name. Yeah, he comes and he says, "Zo edut Rabbi Yosef mi pisham yav v'talyon ve'odu lo." This was a testimony that Rabbi Yosef learned it from Shemaya Talyon. That means it wasn't just stam. He mamash had a masoret, and what? They agreed to him. Meaning Chachamim agreed to Rabbi Yosef. This is how we're supposed to paskin. Why? Because this was a big testimony. So Ravashi says, Miktani v'kiblu. Does it say that they accepted his words, the kiblu? It says vehodulo ktani. Vehodulo means that they admit to him. They are modeh to him. Right? So what does that mean? He comes and he says the mistaber tameh, because it's going to be mistaber as reason. Okay, fine. Tanu Rabbanan, we learned to the Braita. Heniach banim. No. That's what he's saying. He's saying it's mistaber tameh. That's why hodulo. It doesn't say kiblu. Kiblu means is that even is exactly like the psak of Rabbi Yosef. Hodulo just means that really be'emet Rabbi Yosef is mistaber, right? But maybe they wouldn't have done it themselves. They had a masoret. So since they had a masoret, okay, fine. So then halacha is like that. Yeah, but there's a difference. Is it that they're mekabel because that's what they hold as well, or they're only mekabel because there's a masoret like him? So therefore, what are we going to do? There's nothing to do. Well, obviously, again, achanami at the end, you're going to pass like that, but the question is why.
Okay, fine. But
okay, so that's what we're saying.
So then what is the conclusion?
Yeah, Tan Rabbanan, we went to the Braita. Hiniach banim elu ve'elu ochlim. We said that if right now she has children, right? I mean, she wasn't pregnant. So then everybody eats, whether it's the avdei melug or avdei tzur barzel. Okay, everybody eats from the truma. Hinicha meubere, but if he left her pregnant, elu ve'elu enochlim, nobody eats. Hiniach banim, if he left children, vinicha meuberet, and also pregnant. So avdei melug ochlim, keder she ochelet. So just like she eats, the avdei melug eats. Avdei tzur barzel, they don't eat because it's chelko shel ha'ubar. The ubar posel ve'enu machil. Remember, right? The enu machil. Why? Because at the end of the day, the ubar enu machil. Ubar doesn't. Yeah. Right. Remember, what was the difference between tzur barzel and maluk? That he said tzur barzel, who has the body of the property. Right. Okay. Rabbi Yishmael Rabbi Yosef Omer Mishum Aviv. Yishmael Rabbi Yosef says the name of his father. Habat ma'achelet habenu machil. Only boys give over to eat truma, not girls. More time. Let's see one more time. Right? It was not exactly. It was an orah acheret. What was the orah acheret? Rabbi Yishmael ben Rabbi Yosef says the name of his father. The bat is ma'achelet avadim truma, but not the ben. Which means only the girls are going to give them to eat, but not the boys. Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, Rabbi Shimon ben Yochai, he comes and he argues, and that was another shita. Zecharim yochelu. When it comes to do with zecharim, which means if he leaves boys, which are zecharim, and even if it's going to be zachar echad, so yochlu, who are going to be yochlu of detzor barzel betruma, right? Because of the chelek, because here there's no suspicion of the chelek of the ubar. Kulan nekevot, but if he only left girls, okay, lo yochlu, then they shouldn't eat. Why? Shema yimatzeh ubar zachar ve'en lebanot bimkom ben klum. Was 1 second. Who are the inheritors until now? If there's only girls, so girls inherit. But if there's going to be one boy, so then the girls get nothing. So then the thing is, 1 second, maybe the ubar is a boy. And if the ubar is a boy, the girls get nothing. So because of that, if she's meuberet, right? If all of them are girls and there's an ubar, so they couldn't eat. So says the Gemara, my idia shema yimatzeh ubar zachar. What do you care now if the ubar is going to be a male? Tepu klei. Why don't you just say the nekeva nami pasta? Why don't you just say the nekeva is also going to come and be posel? So says the Gemara, you're right. Chada ve'od kamar. There's two different reasons. Right? Chada number one, does the nekeva also is poselet? Furthermore, maybe it's going to be a boy. If it's going to be a boy, the girls get nothing. So then we said zecharim yochelu. It's going to be zecharim. They're going to eat it. Yeah. Says the Gemara ve'ika ubar. 1 second, but you have the ubar. What does it mean the ubar? You have the ubar b'mei ishto meuberet, and therefore we're going to suspect that you're going to. So kasavar he holds, right? We're on some examining bet, right? 67b. He holds en choshin limiuta. We're not going to be choshesh for mute, right? Yeah, 67b, right? What does that mean? We're not going to suspect that the ubar is going to be a zachar, right? Because then he's the miut, right? The minority, which means the fact that he's a zachar is a miut because half of them are girls. Now, even if between the half which are boys, part of them are also nefalim. So because of that, he wants to say that the zachar, I don't want to say 25, but maybe we're going to say 40 or whatever, but it's minority. It's already minority. Because it's half boys, half girls. And even from the boys, maybe there's also nefels, which are stillborns and miscarriages and all those things, right? Defects and all that. So because of that, it becomes minority. So if he says we don't suspect for minority, if you want, you can answer. Maybe we do suspect for the minority. Was we make a takana like Rav Nachman and Shmuel. The Amar Rav Nachman and Shmuel says Rav Nachman and Shmuel, Yetomim sheba'u lachlok v'niksei aviyem bet din ma'amidim la'hem apotropos. When you have yetomim that are under bar mitzvah, and they come and they want to be cholek in the niksei aviyem, which means they want to divide the property of their fathers. So what do? The din, they put an apotropos. Apotropos is like a guarantor, a person that's an estate, but there's somebody in charge of this.
No, it is a state.
Yeah,
a state is a lawyer.
Yeah, exactly. The lawyer,
he controls the money, control everything.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a lawyer, a special lawyer.
And the state derived from that.
Yes. Right? And then he gives them the different things. Right? So now when they igdilu, right, they could come and they could be moche. Okay? They could come and they say, it wasn't good. Rav Nachman himself says, they can't do it. Why? 1 second. If the bedin were the ones that appointed this trustee, right, that he's the one that's in charge of the estate, right, and he's the one that's doing everything, and all of a sudden when they get older, they say, we don't like it. So what did the bedin do? It was nothing. Okay? So says the Gemara, Lema de Rav Nachman, why don't we just say that which Rav Nachman said? It's machloket tanaim. And what do you mean machloket tanaim? Right? Do we say that the heter that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai taught to do an ubar, to do a takana, is talking about what we just mentioned before or not? Says the Gemara, no. Everybody holds of Rav Nachman. Here, do we suspect for the minority or not? Rabbi says the name of the father. Habat ma'achelet. Haben eno ma'achil. The girl, she gives to eat avadim, but not the boy. That's what we said before, correct? So says the Gemara, Ma'ishna ben dilo ma'achil. Mishum chelko shel ubar. You tell me, why does a boy not give to eat? Because there's an ubar. So also bat nami lo ta'achil. Chelko shel ubar, the same thing. The boy also, because of the chelko shel ubar. So Amar Abai says, Hacha here benechasim muatim askin. We're talking about nechasim muatim. What does nechasim muatim mean? Exactly. Very little properties. Very little properties. Uchgonen, for example, the ika ben badi bat, you have a boy and a girl. So manashach. So now, if the one that's pregnant, it's a boy, so lo adiv ma'edekai, so there's already a boy there. Vibati, and if it's a girl, amayachla, so why should be chlal ganit? So it says the Gemara, betakanta derabanan. This is coming from a koach of takanat chachamim. Kama de lo nafak la'avir ha'olam lo tekinu rabanan. As long as the child was not born, there's nothing there. Meaning, as long as the child was not born, we don't pay attention to the child. If he's going to be, but until he's not born, we don't pay attention. Okay, so Mayu Kimta said, why did you tell me now that we're talking about Nechasim Muatim, small amount of properties? In Maseifa, what did you say the Seifa? What was the Seifa? Shema imatzeh ubar zachar ve'ele bano b'mkom ben krum. Maybe it's going to become an ubar, right? Maybe the ubar is going to be a zachar, the fetus is going to be a male, and there's nothing for the girls. Adra, but the opposite. Nechasim muatim de banot ninu. When we're talking about nechasim muatim, right, we're talking about, right, of the girls. So he says, Seifa atan nechasim rubin. No, you're right. Right, there's a lot of properties, because if there's a small amount of properties, you give it to the girls in order that they could actually get it for the weddings. So you give it to the girls. Yeah, for the nedunya. That's what you do. Okay. No, that's what it says. It belongs to the girls. What are you talking about? If they sold it, they sold it. Says the Gemara, no. Ve'ela my bat tektani. What do you mean bat? M. What does it mean M? We're talking about almanat kohen. We're talking about the mother, which is the almanav the kohen. So it means she herself is permitted to eat in the truma even after his death. So since she's allowed to eat in the truma after the death, so therefore also there's no problem. One second. So says the Gemara, if so, that is Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef says, right, that they cannot. Right? So he says, Kula Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yosef Ktanila. No, the entire thing is Rabbi Shmuel, right, by Rabbi Yosef. So therefore also the beginning of the Reisha is also talking about the same halacha, and therefore it's not arguing whatsoever. One of them is a Shita that they learned from Rabbi Shmuel in the name of Rabbi Yosef, his father. Okay, fine. That was until there. That was Samach Zayin Amud Bet. Now we're on the Mishnah on Samach Zayin Amud Bet. Let me just see. Says the Mishnah, Haubar de Ayavam, Vaerusin, Veacheresh, yeah, Uventesha Shanim Yom Echad, Poslin, Velo Ma'achelin. So Anubar, Yavam, Erusin, Cheresh, and Tesha Shanim Yom Echad. All these people, they are going to be posel abat kohen for meaning from truma, Velo Ma'achelin, and we do not give them to eat. They cannot give to eat truma. 1 second. Okay, safek shehu ben teisha shanim yom echad. Safek shein. What happens if you have a safek whether he's 9 years old or not, right? Or we have a safek whether evi shte sarot or he didn't bring at all. Okay, safek shelo evi, which means like this. In all these cases, what are we trying to say? We're trying to say that when there's going to be a connection between a bat kohen to another man, it's going to disqualify her. So it doesn't matter whether it's because she has an ubar, which means she's a bat kohen that was married to Yisrael. She became an almanah, but she was pregnant. Right? I mean, she became widowed, but she's pregnant from him. Or a Yavam. What is a Yavam? Bat Kohen that was married to Yisrael. She dies. The brother is going to do Yibum to her. Or Erusin. What does it mean, Erusin? Bat Kohen that she got married to a regular Yisrael as Nitarsa. Cheresh. What is a Cheresh? A Yisrael Cheresh that gets married to a Bat Kohen prohibits her. Right? Umitzad Sheni, Kohen Cheresh is a little bit different. Fine. Right? Bentesha Shnim Yom Echad. The Gemara is going to explain what are we talking about here. 9 years old. What's going on? Okay? Fine. What happens now if the house falls on him and on the wife, which is bat achiv, which is the niece, right? And they both died. Okay? Ve'en yadua, now we don't know, eze met rishon, which one dies first. Yeah, we don't know which one dies first. So tzarata choletzet velo mityabemet. So the tzarata, she does chalitza and not ibum. What does that mean? If he dies first and then both of them fell in front of the brothers, so the bat achiv is ptura, poteret tzarata from the yibum and from the chalitza because it's tzarata bat. However, though, if the bat achiv died first, so then when he dies and then afterwards, so then there was no tzarat erva. So now it's going to be a problem. We're going back to Yevamot, gentlemen. You guys remember? Now we're going back to Yevamot. Remember, we had the niece. Yeah, what does it mean the niece? Right? Achyanit. So now the niece, and there's another wife. So now, if right now the husband dies, so now this niece falls in front of her father. She cannot get married to her father. So therefore, tzarata is also going to be permitted without anything. Why? Because it's tzarat erva, correct? So therefore, he says, since the niece cannot get married to her father, so the tzarata is completely permitted. She's permitted to the shuk. Why tzarata? Not permitted to the shuk. Why tzarata? So now the question is, who died first? Why? Because if he dies first, right? So no, if he dies first, the niece had to go to the father. She couldn't have gone to the father, so the tzarata, right? The tzara goes to the shuk. But what happens if she dies first? If the niece died first, because remember, it fell on him and the niece. So then the niece is obligated to go to the brother. Not the niece, the other wife is obligated to go to the not to the father, to the guy, which is the father, the brother. The brother. Yeah. Yeah. So he comes and he says in the Gemara, Ha'ubar. Says the Gemara, Ha'ubar. What are we talking about? Ibat Kohen li Israel, who, if we're talking about Bat Kohen that got married to Israel, and then he died and she's meuberet, so pasila. We already just said that the ubar makes her pasul because once she's pregnant, she does not go back to the house of Betavia. So right, because it says kinurea Betavia. What is kinurea? Because she's going back like a nara. It means it's coming to exclude a meuberet, that she's not pregnant. Bat Israel, and if it's about Israel, lekoenu, right? Lekoeni, so lo ma'achila, right? Why? Yalud ma'achil, shenu yalud ma'achil, right? So therefore, that's the explanation. Then we said a yavam. What is the yavam? Ibat kohen Israel, who if it's going to be a bat kohen getting married to Israel, fasila, it becomes prohibited. The shavel betavia, it comes back to her father's house. Now she's a shomenet yavam. She has to wait for yibum. Ibat Israel lekoeni, and if it's a bat Israel getting married to a kohen, lo ma'achila, he doesn't give it to her. Kinyan kaspo amanachmana, ve'a kinyan dachivu. It's only kinyan kaspo. It's kinyan achiv, lo kinyan kaspo. Until the brother doesn't do the yibum, it's not his kinyan kaspo. One more time. You've got a man, right? That's a kohen. He gets married to a woman. Why does he give the woman to eat truma? Because that's kinyan kaspo. It's his money. When he dies, right? What happens is this woman should go to the brother. 1 second. How does the brother give her to eat truma? It's not kinyan kaspo. It's kinyan achiv. It belongs to the first husband, meaning it's the acquisition of the first husband. So that's why he comes and he says, right, that we say, well, until he does the yibum, but until then, no. So because of that, he comes and he says the yavam disqualifies because it's not going to be kinyan kaspo. Tomorrow we'll continue with Erus.